Hey Vision Chasers, this is Dr. Bird here with another social studies lesson for you today. You know, the sound that you're listening to right now is a very familiar sound in the United States in the 1920s. Now, whenever this sound came on, people would dance the night away. The 1920s was a very fun time for many people in the United States until the end of the decade. Today's lesson is about the 1920s from boom to bust. So when I use the term boom, I'm using it in a positive way to describe the impact of the economy, the great positive impact that the economy had on seemingly everyone. This decade was known as a time of prosperity for all. Now, on a side note, we know that it's a fact that not all people enjoy prosperity, as African Americans and immigrants were still struggling for equality at this time. But what can't be ignored is the wealth of the nation doubled between 1920 and 1929. Incomes were up and people were saving a lot of money. Businesses were booming because of the advances in electricity and mass production. And as a result, when their production costs go down, they are able to lower their price and therefore make their products more affordable for all. Now, this allowed many Americans to embrace consumerism. Now, consumerism is simply the act of utilizing and consuming goods and services. So during the 1920s, more Americans had money to buy things like refrigerators, cars, toasters, and like I said before, invest in real estate and stocks. You might ask yourself, why in the world did they decide to spend so much money? Well, take a look at these advertisements. Billions of dollars were spent back then to promote products. Here are just a few advertisements that were displayed in the 1920s. Now, back then, unlike today, most advertisement was done on paper, via newspapers, magazines. It's not like today when you turn on your cell phone and turn on an app and there you have advertisements pop up and you see advertisements everywhere nowadays. But if you can just imagine living during the 1920s, I think you can understand how these advertisements were so successful in producing sales because they painted just this wonderful, colorful picture of a happy life, only if you buy that product. Now, foreshadowing the bust of the 1920s, and bust is a negative term, a lot of dreams were busted towards the end of the 1920s. A lot of people began to use credit in order to purchase goods and services. They could buy now and pay later. For example, a $28 vacuum cleaner you could purchase for $2 down and $4 a month. A washing machine that costs $100, you can put $5 down and pay $8 a month. A $445 piano, you put $15 down and pay $12 a month. Now, this was a seemingly very convenient way for everyone to purchase things because they weren't paying all of the money up front. Now, when it's all said and done, when you buy things like that, you're going to have to pay what's called interest. So, for example, if you purchase a vacuum cleaner that's $50, once you're finished paying on it, you may pay $60 back then. That extra $10 is what's called interest. And interest is just the cost of taking out a loan in order to buy a product on credit. Now, lastly, many people enjoy prosperity through the stock market. And by the end of the 1920s, the stock market would crash, signaling that the good times were over. And the stock market crashed primarily because of the inflation of the value of the stocks, as well as the way people were buying the stocks. So the stock market made a lot of money for a lot of people, and everybody wanted to get in on it. They even engaged in some tricky activity in terms of purchasing stocks. And now, by tricky, I don't mean that this was illegal, but what they were doing was they were basically putting a little bit down now in order to have it, and they promised to pay for it in full in the future using the money that they earned from the stocks. Now that's called buying on margin, and I go into a little bit more detail about that in another post, and I encourage you to check that out. So the terrifying secret that people started to learn towards the end of the 1920s was that the value of their stocks was not what they thought it was. So for an example, let's say someone felt that okay, what I have, I've got $100 worth of stocks here. I'm very happy about my $100 worth of stocks. Well, in actuality, the value of those stocks was $5. And could you imagine waking up one day and learning that the value of your stocks, and perhaps this is your life savings, is very, very minimal. It's not what you thought it was. And this happened to a lot of people, as in this case here. This person's name is Anthony Schneider. He was the president of a cigar company, and he woke up one day and the value of the stocks for his company was $113.50. And all in one day, that price drops to $4. Sadly, he took his own life when he realized that his fortune was all but gone. And this will lead to some very tough times over the next 11 years until the United States is thrust into yet another war. Well, that's our social studies lesson for the day. Please check the Vision Chasers website for more tips and tools to help you as you chase your vision of success. Additionally, please feel free to download the worksheet that goes along with this video so you can learn a little bit more about how people in the United States went from boom to bust in the 1920s. Well, thank you so much for watching. Until we meet again, please keep chasing the vision. Bye.